When I was obsessed with getting men to fancy me, I was just completely consumed with trying to get into not even a relationship, just get that validation from men. I just wanted to be regarded as attractive. I was obviously trying to fill a hole. I obviously didn't get that kind of validation from friendships, from myself. I didn't allow myself to explore my passions and my hobbies and to connect with myself on a deep level. So my only kind of port of call was, oh, you feel good when men find you attractive. Through male validation, you feel good about yourself. Obviously, romantic connection is beautiful, love is beautiful, and we shouldn't feel ashamed for wanting that. And that massively adds to our life. But the key is it needs to add to our life. It can't be the sole thing that keeps us feeling good in ourselves. You can decenter men, but still date men and be open to love, which is why I massively want to encourage you to Hello my lovelies, I'm Alessia. So today I'm making this video, how to decenter men, not to make you feel ashamed of wanting to date men, of wanting to flirt with men, of wanting to feel loved by a man, but because I want you to focus less on, I need this relationship, I need this validation, I need to be attractive. I don't want you to get into a relationship with a guy or date a guy and suppress who you are and pretend you like everything that he likes and not talk about your hobbies or your opinions. I don't want you to adapt who you are to be attractive for a man. Doesn't mean I don't want you to enjoy flirting with men and dating men and exploring that, but I find it so sad that a lot of us women adjust who we are so we come across as attractive. There is such pressure in this society to be deemed an attractive woman by a man. That's why sometimes we're putting so much pressure on romance, on men finding us attractive, on us being the perfect person, the perfect almost object. I'm pretty, I don't talk too much, I sit nice and tall. A lot of us lack our humanness when we first start dating men. So many of us follow these rules on dates so we come across as attractive. We don't just, be ourselves and flow naturally and let the conversation take its own form. A lot of the time, actually, I think we're quite controlled in these date situations. And I don't think that's because we want that. I think it's because we want to be wanted. We want that love and connection. And through socialization and watching TV and watching other women around men and watching films and listening to music, we've learned that actually women perform for men and then men want them, rather than two people come together and connect. So much of the time we feel like we have to win a man, we have to win a man over, rather than just connect. Rather than two people come together who share similar values and hobbies, who have a mutual respect for each other, come together and things flourish. A lot of it's quite forced. I really don't want you to sacrifice your identity, your life, your friendships to find a man or to be attractive to men. I realise when we get into a relationship or we are complimented by men, we feel good, we feel validated. But if we get into a connection with a man or we get that validation off the back of not really being ourselves, but just, pouting or pretending to be someone we're not, it doesn't make us feel deep love. It doesn't make us feel safe and grounded. It actually just teaches us to keep on performing so we can feel close to someone. But that closeness is an illusion. You're not close to someone if they're not actually seeing who you are. They just fancy you, it's just lust. I really don't want you to change yourself to receive that male validation. I don't want you to be a less vibrant version of you. I don't want you to be a less funny version of you, a less bubbly version of you. I don't want you to lose your expression. A lot of the time when I have been on dates myself in the past, I've found myself just being very collected and posed. But actually I'm a really expressive person, as you can tell, watching these videos. And I think it's really sad that I felt in the past that I couldn't just be myself and be expressive and let my face express itself. Once you build up this image of the beautiful posed woman, it's quite hard to get out of that cycle of, oh, I need to always look attractive. If you went on a date with someone and you focused majority of the day your energy into looking attractive and trying to come across in a good way to the other person and not on just being yourself, if that person phones you back and asks for another date, you're not going to be able to reassure yourself that actually, there's a connection there, because this person has only really got to see you, not feel you, not speak with you, not actually experience the real you. It's just kind of a surface level attraction. And, that doesn't make us feel deeply connected to someone. Obviously, we want to feel beautiful on dates. We want to have that sexual chemistry. We want to be complimented. I mean, I do. And I think that's great. I just want to say that. But when that is like 90% of your focus is going into that, into achieving that, then you leave yourself in this vulnerable position where you're brushing aside your personality in order to be this beautiful kind of object. You're objectifying yourself. When you're just focusing on your exterior, your interior gets lost in translation and the person falls in love with an image, not a person. You're a person. You're a beautiful, multifaceted human being. Think now of your qualities. Are you funny? Are you curious? Are you intelligent? Are you passionate? Are you a nature lover? All of those beautiful, unique quirks that make you you need to come out on these dates. People need to see that, because that's what makes you unique and special. Yes, you might stand out to someone because you're attractive, but there are lots of other attractive people. What makes you inherently valuable is who you are on the inside, your unique characteristics, how you laugh, how you express yourself, the little sayings you say all the time. No one else is you. No one else can be the beautiful combination of characteristics and experiences that you are. People can be just as attractive as you, maybe even more attractive. I'm talking on a societal standard basis, but no one can be you. And that's what makes you feel unique and special. And when someone else acknowledges that, a guy acknowledges that, you feel really safe and valued in that relationship, and you don't feel disposable. You don't feel worried that the next person's just going to come along and take that guy away from you, because you're valued for so many things, and so many things that are unique to you. We can get really consumed and obsessed with coming across the right way in front of men. And again, it's this performance. We're almost acting. We're almost mimicking the women on screens that are sexy. But we're not a character in a 1 hour and 50-minute film. We're a human being who has so much to us, and there's no right way of coming across on a date. I mean, there is, and that's just being yourself. But there is no right way of acting. So I really want you to, if you are dating or if you are in a relationship, I want you to tell yourself that you are enough and that you deserve to express yourself. You deserve to show the real you, because that has immense value. I think it's really important that we catch ourselves performing, that we notice when we are in that performer mode, when we are pouting, when we are focusing on how we look rather than just chatting to someone. The amount of times in the past I've caught myself looking at myself from someone else's perspective, when I've been in conversation with maybe someone I fancied, maybe a guy, and instead of actually talking to him and being really immersed in the conversation, I've been watching myself, having a kind of out-of-body experience, watching myself almost from his perspective and analysing myself and adjusting how I looked so I came across as attractive. And you know what? When we are in this performer mode, we're not able to actually assess the connection. We're not able to think, oh, Do I actually want to spend time with this person? Is the chemistry right? How do I feel when I'm around them? How do they make me feel in my body? Because we're just performing, we're just wanting them to like us straight away before we've even really realised whether we like them or not. So it's really important to not perform, but rather just be. I know there is so much pressure on women to be perfect, to be perfectly beautiful. No flaws are allowed. And I know that's the reason why we kind of don't feel human a lot of the time. We don't allow ourselves to be expressive and move our face in different ways when we're on dates. And we just feel like we have to be so perfect, like a woman from a magazine. So when you go on a date, when you're around your partner, when you're just making friends with people, remind yourself, I'm not a performer. I can just be. When I was obsessed with getting men to fancy me, I was really struggling to maintain healthy friendships. I was really struggling to actually listen to my friends when other men were around. I couldn't do my work. When I was at university, there was so much that I could have been learning and doing and trying, but I was just completely consumed with trying to get into not even a relationship, just get that validation from men. I just wanted to be regarded as attractive. I was obviously trying to fill a hole. I obviously didn't get that kind of validation from friendships, from myself. I didn't allow myself to explore my passions and my hobbies and to connect with myself on a deep level. So my only kind of port of call was, oh, you feel good when men find you attractive. Through male validation, you feel good about yourself. Obviously, as I said, like romantic connection is beautiful, love is beautiful, platonic love and romantic love. That's important, and we shouldn't feel ashamed for wanting that, and that massively adds to our life. But the key is it needs to add to our life. It can't be the sole thing that keeps us feeling good in ourselves. Which is why I massively want to encourage you to read books about feminism and get really clued up on why you might be putting that pressure on yourself to be valued by a man. When you start to explore this, you might also get into this space where you're able to kind of question your sexuality as well. When I started tapping into feminism and trying to understand why I was so obsessed with male validation and wanting that, I realised it was more of like I just want to feel worthy. Once I was able to take male validation off a pedestal, I was also able to understand myself deeper and that, I was queer. So I just want to say to you, once you really start to unpick your relationship with men and wanting that attention, you really start to understand who you are. Self-exploration is really hard when you're obsessed with how you look and how you're coming across and with being the performer. When you're obsessed with meeting other people's needs rather than your own needs, it's really hard to understand who you are. So I realised because we've been going in one direction for so long, we've been, taught to absolutely be obsessed with romance and being swooped off our feet and Ryan Gosling in The Notebook and being rescued by the prince. We've really been kind of conditioned to want that Prince Charming and want to be saved and want just love to consume us. We've been so thrown in one direction for so long in such an extreme way that now the pendulum's going to kind of swing the other way and we're going to go to the other extreme and, villainize women for wanting romance and shame ourselves for wanting to, be in love. I realise that often as humans we do kind of do that. We move from one extreme to the other until we're able to find a kind of middle ground. And that's kind of what I'm encouraging you to do. You don't need to be anti-men. In fact, I think that's quite a sad way to live because there are men all around us and there are men out there who are willing to emotionally support you, do the work, go to therapy. Obviously, harder to find than the kind of men that aren't emotionally available and aren't willing to do the work. But there are good men out there You don't need to cut men out of your life. You don't need to shame yourself for wanting romance. You don't need to focus purely on work and be a girl boss. You can be yourself. You can be open to love. You can put yourself out there in situations so you meet people. You can decenter men, but still date men and be open to love. The point is, you want to put yourself at the center of your life. Your needs, your desires need to come first. And then men, partners, can add to that. If you have this kind of strong core, this identity, if you have these friendships, if you have a life outside of your relationship, outside of dating, then you feel attractive. I really do believe that we can feel beautiful. A few years ago, I did not feel beautiful or attractive. Now I do. Not because I've changed, actually. I look quite similar to how I did a few years ago. But I have a life outside of male validation, outside of being in a relationship and having that kind of connection with a man. I have value beyond being someone's partner, someone's person, someone that someone's attracted to. I have really good friendships. I believe in myself and I post YouTube videos and I connect with women through my program. If you want to connect with me, by the way, my email is in the description box. I do so many things that add so many dimensions to my life that give me fulfillment and make me feel just love. I feel love from my friends. I feel love from myself when I'm taking myself on those walks in nature and I'm able to kind of smile at the flowers and, feel the breeze on my body. I experience love in many different ways. That makes me feel attractive. That makes me feel happy in my life. And I'm very much these days focusing more on loving the life that I have rather than loving myself. We don't choose to be in the bodies that we exist in. We don't choose our genes. We don't choose who we are. We choose how we live. We choose how to behave. We choose our friends. We create the life that we live. And that is something that I want to feel proud of. And you know what? That really takes the pressure off me, because I think self-love is a nice idea, but it's hard, when you're feeling down some days, when you experience depression, when sometimes you experience rejection, if you're dating, if you set a goal for yourself and you're not able to meet it one day because you've got a bad period. It's hard to feel love for yourself, but having love for the life that you've created for yourself, the ability that you've created to be soft with yourself when you're struggling, is far more tangible. Maybe focus more on loving the life you're creating for yourself rather than loving yourself. I don't put men at the centre of my life anymore. I used to always think from a man's perspective. Women are really good at doing that, by the way. It's like we've got a man living in our heads. We're really good at centering men's opinions and perspectives, even though we're not men ourselves. I really used to do that. I used to dress for men. I used to regurgitate opinions that I think men commonly hold. I used to laugh at other women and say, oh, I love hanging out with guys more than girls. I used to not really know how to conduct myself in social situations because I was just trying to please rather than be myself. Now, even if it's uncomfortable, which it is sometimes, a lot of the time for me at the moment, it is uncomfortable putting yourself first and your opinions first and you at the centre of your life. But it gets easier the more and more you do it. When you next go on a date with someone, sit there and think, okay, if this was my friend sat opposite me, what would I say? What would I want to talk about? Okay, I'm feeling the urge to try and show off and be this attractive person in front of this guy. But actually, if I was with my friends, I would just talk about my week. Lean into that. Allow yourself to express yourself authentically, and you'll find that you attract the right people. Do you find that you're entering these kind of situationships with guys a lot that don't treat you very well? Do you often find yourself feeling unworthy? Is it almost like you're experiencing the same situation over and over again with different guys? That might be because you're attracted to a certain type of guy, a certain type of behaviour, a certain type of feeling. You might be attracted to feeling unworthy. And I think that's obviously on a very subconscious level. As humans, we're kind of attracted to what we used to. So if you're used to feeling unworthy, you're probably just seeking out what you've always known. You kind of know how to deal with that. You know how the story goes. You phone up your friend after and you complain because he's, started airing you and ghosting you, and then you move on to the next day and you change something else about your appearance and you buy a new outfit. It's really sad and kind of crazy that as humans we can seek out pain because we're used to it. And we might regard that as our comfort zone because it's all we know, but it's actually really uncomfortable. It's not nice to be treated badly by somebody, to feel unworthy, for them to make us feel uninteresting by not actually listening to us on dates. But maybe we grew up and we never felt listened to by our friends or our family, so we just go for what we're used to. Do you feel like you deserve love? If not, maybe it's time, you seek out therapy or a professional to talk to. Maybe it's time you journal and you open up and you start really looking at these feelings and looking at what you're attracted to and why. I think we can really center men when we don't feel we deserve to be centered ourselves, when we don't feel like we deserve love. I think a lot of the time we're actually far more picky with who we befriend rather than who we date, who we choose to get into a relationship with. It's understandable if you're a straight woman who's trying to find an emotionally intelligent, kind, willing to go to therapy and learn about themselves man. I get that it's hard to be picky with men because patriarchy has unfortunately meant that a lot of men are quite toxic, are quite uncomfortable with all the emotions they feel. And then they pass that uncomfortability onto us women and make us feel invalidated. I completely get that it's far easier to be picky with the women, the friends you're letting into your life, rather than your partner, because we expect more from women. As women, we're able to cry and be more emotional. We're less shamed for that. I don't think women are not shamed for being emotional, they are. But there's more space for us to do that in this patriarchal world than men. So naturally we get more comfortable with having these emotional conversations and we understand ourselves clearer, and it's hard to find men that match our emotional intelligence and self-awareness. I do think it's really important that we let people into our lives that actually add to it, not just because we want to have people in our lives, we don't want to be lonely. Wouldn't you much rather be alone and have more time to yourself than be with somebody who makes you feel bad about yourself, somebody who hinders your life? You could be spending that time going and meeting new friends who could become lovers. What qualities do you want your partner or your friends to embody? Do you want to be able to talk about feminism with them, your mental health with them? Do you want them to be caring of animals and Mother Nature? Do you want to be able to have intellectual conversations with them about the literature you love? Write down and get clear on what you actually want from someone, what someone can do to actually add to your life. I think it can be super empowering in the long run to get clear on who you want and who you will allow into your life. It might mean that you spend more time single, but it doesn't mean you have to spend more time on your own. Seek out that community, those connections. Yes, you might want a romantic connection, but something that starts out as a friendship can blossom into romance. It's just really valuable to put yourself out there and find your little, spots in the world. At that yoga class, at that swimming club, at that book club. Immerse yourself in the activities that make you feel like yourself, and you'll meet people in those communities that are likely to allow you to be yourself. Maybe you'll, not instantly, but maybe you'll form a connection with someone that will turn into a romantic situation that's beautiful. I think in order to decenter men from our lives, but not romance, we simply need to be willing to put the effort into making our life really beautiful in all corners, not just the romance corner. We need to put energy into friendship, into our individual hobbies and passions, into our family, if we want that, into self-exploration and therapy. There are many corners that you can fulfill in order to make your course stronger. So then if one corner goes away, maybe you break up with somebody, you've still got these other corners holding you up, keeping you grounded, making you feel love for your life. I think you have to be prepared to stay connected to people and the things that make you feel like yourself, the activities that you love. And it's hard to maintain that connection with other parts of your life when you're in a relationship, because it's so tempting to stay in bed and watch Netflix. It is tempting, it's relaxing, you don't have to put much thought into it. Whereas if you go to a yoga class with a new friend, you do feel anxious, you feel a bit tired after, a bit of a release when you get home. But honestly, maintaining a life outside of your relationship sets you up for success, not only in your life and in your sense of self, but also in your relationship. If your partner knows that you have these friends and this life outside of him, he's going to really value your time. And when he gets to be with you, he will put the effort in, hopefully, if he's a good guy. If you've been on a date with a guy and he hasn't asked to go on another date with you, he's not texted you after, it doesn't mean that you're unattractive. I know it's so easy for us to quickly jump to that conclusion and feel the need to change ourselves and who we are and judge ourselves. But just like with friends, sometimes you might meet somebody and think, great person, but we're not aligned. I don't have the same interests as them. I don't think I'm going to see them again. A similar thing could have happened in this situation with this guy. And I know we can speculate and we can punish ourselves, but I'd much rather you assume that the guy just didn't feel that connection, that chemistry, than assume there's something wrong with me. I need to change. I spoke about this in a previous video. I think it was the one just before this one, which I'll link at the end. It's really valuable to say to yourself, this is me, and I don't need to change for somebody else. If they don't want to spend time with me again, I want to spend time with me. I have friends that want to spend time with me, so that's fine. It's hard to continue being yourself on dates when you've been rejected, because experiencing rejection when you're just being yourself can feel really painful. But we're not all designed to love and connect with each other. There are going to be people that you dislike, and there are going to be people that dislike you. Maybe not even dislike, that just don't feel that synergy with you, and that's okay. It's okay to not be attractive to everyone. As we grow older, we get more sophisticated in our preferences, and we know what's good for us and we know what we're attracted to. Please don't tell yourself that you're not enough because you're not in a relationship. You've gone through so many things and you're here today watching this video self-reflecting. You're beautiful. Your friends, your family would argue that. You have qualities to be proud of. Remind yourself that you are so valuable. And some people are going to see that and want to be around that. And that's beautiful. And some people are not, and that is okay. So next week's video is going to be about how to stop being apologetic for how you look. So if you're interested and you don't want to miss that, subscribe and hit the little bell notification. And I also have a program in which I connect with women. I send them resources and we do Zoom calls. And it's this really beautiful process where I give women the space and the tools to learn to feel worthy and validated in themselves rather than waiting for external validation. We do some decentering men work in that program as well. So if you're interested in connecting with me and receiving my resources, my email is in the description box below. Pop me an email. I'll share more details with you, and yeah, we can suss out if it would work for you. I love you all so much. Thank you so much for listening all this way and for still listening now. Please subscribe, like, share, comment, and just be kind to everyone in the comment section, because this is a lovely community of wonderful people.